I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Chinmoy Guha who have accepted to share his knowledge about Jean-Paul Sartre in AF du Bengale. Tonight we will celebrate another French philosopher, Jean-Paul Sartre. And so I will not share too much because, dear Chinmoy, we have the pleasure to listen to you. So the floor is yours, and thank you so much for your presence, and I hope to see you for the next event of Alliance Française.
Sartre becomes more relevant at this time. So this beautiful picture when an intellectual comes out of his ivory tower and connects with humanity. How many times has this happened in the history of the world? Great rebels like Voltaire, like Victor Hugo, like Romain Rolland, like André Gide could do it, but Sartre went to the farthest point. That is extraordinary. Connecting. He's now selling a banned newspaper called La Cause du Peuple, which is a Maoist newspaper. And as you know, he was arrested by De Gaulle, who later said, before releasing him, I can't arrest Voltaire. And Sartre said, once again, I'm defeated. Each time I want to do something different, people sort of put me into a straitjacket. When he wanted to refuse the Nobel Prize in 1965, we all know he said, Je ne veux pas institutionnaliser ma révolte. I don't want to institutionalize my revolt. I didn't want to carry a bag of potatoes on his shoulder. The reputation of the Nobel Prize. How many could do it? In this world where we are going down, 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 when the world is burning, in this moment of crisis in civilization, we can only look up to somebody like Jean-Paul Sartre. We miss out on the Jean-Paul Rise and Jean-Paul Bouches. And we also look up to this man because he could break the barriers and come out into the larger space. Very few could do it. And if he's been sometimes ridiculed by the post-Sartre intellectuals, they also admired him. When he died, l'Humanité had a banner headline, L'immense Sartre est mort. Immense Sartre. It's not easy when you have a galaxy of stars in France, thinkers coming every other day. And now, in the 10th century, where, to quote René Dumont, the ecologist and agronomist of France, I see the 20th century as a century of massacres and wars. In such a century, Jean-Paul Sartre, 1905, we knew that he was a philosopher. He was a novelist, he was a short story writer, playwright, political activist. Before everything else, a philosopher. He is an existentialist. We all call him the pioneering existentialist in France. You know that existentialism is not a movement or a school, like the Romantic school in England. We had poets like Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, Shelley, Byron. It was a school. We had the Surrealists in France. It was a school. André Breton, Philippe Soupeau, etc., etc. But existentialism is not a school. You know, they are bound together by similarity of ideas. The first one was perhaps Kierkegaard of Denmark in the early 19th century. Then came Heidegger, Germany, being in time, and then came Sartre. So you see, they are disconnected by time, in time, and yet they are blended together by, they are bound together, combined by their doctrines, similarity of the doctrines. In which way are they different? Why are they called existentialists? You know, or if we look at philosophers, most of them are looking at the meaning of life, the meaning of the world, meaning of society, if you take into consideration Hegel and Marx. But this man, like Kierkegaard, Heidegger, and Camus, taught otherwise. They concentrated on this is very important, they concentrated on human existence. This is very, very different. Human existence, the individual is in the center of the existential universe. The individual is in the center of the universe. Very important. The individual, which was not the case with Spinoza or even Plato or earlier on or others. Here, the individual is in the center, and his anxiety and tension. Nobody spoke about the anxiety of the individual, the pain, the crisis, the anguish of the individual. This is very, very important. The anguish of the individual. So, and how to go about it. The anguish of the individual. Look at the title of Kierkegaard's book, Fear and Trembling. Nobody thought about the fear and trembling of an individual in a dusty corner. This man. When you stand before the mirror, broken mirror at the end of the day, you look at yourself, not at your friends, or colleagues, or others. Look at yourself. What should I do? Said Pascal, the mathematician, the physicist, and the philosopher, who died at the age of 39. Qu'est-ce que je fais? This is something nobody asked. The individual trembling in front of the mirror, scared, fear and trembling. And this man, Jean-Paul Sartre, remember one thing, crisis produces a hero. If there were no Second World War, if there were no Hitler, no occupation of France by Germany, there wouldn't have been great masters. They came out of that. They emanated from darkness of the soul and wanted to go out, to find out light. That's why each time I write Sartre, Camus and others, even André Malraux, I think of those lines by Dylan Thomas. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Allo liberati. Chitkar pune bolo, bolo, bolo. Atto chitkar. It's a cry. Have you seen the great painting by Munch, Edvard Munch? Cry, scream. You are screaming. And that scream comes from the bottom of the darkness of the heart. So, what is very, very important is that the Sartrean philosophy doesn't come from outside. It comes out of the intimate area of the self, like in the case of all existentialists. That's why they're different from other philosophers. They're not focusing on the world. The camera zooms in, it makes extreme close-up of the self, which others are not particularly keen to describe. Now, to come back to this, I'll just give a few quotations before I start. I repeat, with the most vehement conviction, truth is on the march. Truth is on the march. Under Shobai, I repeat with most vehement conviction that truth is on the march and nothing will stop it. So optimistic in a moment of darkness. Look at this man. There's a difference between Heidegger and Sartre. And the other one, nobody else said that. If you want to understand something, undress yourself. Undress yourself. Very important, undress yourself, not others. And so, les salauds pensent qu'ils ont gagné. Seulement les salauds pensent qu'ils ont gagné. Only the scoundrels feel that they have won. It's so important. Now you understand why you could connect with the young generation. So it's their philosophy, it's them. Sartre is them. It's not easy. When Gustave Flaubert said, Emma Bovary, c'est moi. Emma Bovary, it's me. Similarly, Sartre would have said, Sartre, it's me. Very important. This philosopher, playwright, novelist, literary critic, one of the preeminent figures of existentialism and phenomenology. He was also attached to phenomenology. What is phenomenology? Phenomenology is the study of human consciousness. He's both an existentialist and a phenomenologist. He's studying the structure of consciousness also. So he's doing both the things. Les deux choses, à la fois. So that's what he was doing. And look at some sentences. No finite point has meaning without an infinite reference point. No finite point has meaning without an infinite reference point. So it's connecting with the universe, trying to desperately. And he says, 25 days before his death, an interview with his student, Benny Levy. His real name was Pierre Victor, he was a Jew, and he called his friend, his student, Benny Levy. It's not easy. 25 days before his death, he called him and said, attack me. Attack me. And don't call me sir, monsieur. Call me Jean-Paul. And call me tu. Look at the courage of this man. And the man, Benny Levy, asked, Benny Levy was a Sartre student, and he said, when you were talking about alienation, you were not actually alienated, you were enjoying your life in Saint-Germain. And we were just discussing with the Consul General of France who is here, he was also enjoying his life. Mr. Didier Talbot, our Consul General, a great musician, we've seen it. And we were discussing that aspect of Sartre. So he was enjoying life, and he was talking about alienation. This is famous house in 42 Rue Bonaparte, where he used to play on the piano Chopin, Bach, Beethoven's sonatas for 4 hours at a stretch, 42 Rue Bonaparte, this same house. Now, so he had his own worlds too. He his lover biography. He said things which no one dared to. It's the first 12 years of his life on which he won the Nobel Prize, which refused straight away in 1965. And there, in 1964, when he wrote the book, Les mots, more words, more, he said that his grandfather never spoke to his grandmother. Called him his word. Silently. And silently gave birth to several children. As a result, the child, his father, became a stammerer. His father used to stammer because he was born in silence. Just imagine. And in every second para, he said, I'm an imposter. Everybody said, Kishundur Bacha, Kilishuri enfant. And he said, I was an imposter, I pretended to be nice. Children can be very, very devilish. Sartre. Anne-Marie, his mother, and his father died when he was very young. And his mother remarried. Same case with Baudelaire. And all his life, Baudelaire hated his father, his stepfather, General Obique. And don't forget that Sartre wrote on Baudelaire this similarity. Love for mother and hatred for father. So, do you have the picture of Simone de Beauvoir with her mother? This is Simone de Beauvoir, Simone et Hélène, with their mother Françoise. The meditation. You can't hear? Oh. So we can't hear. John Rami, শুনতে পাচ্ছেন না. I'm sorry. me tiens là-dessus. Je vais hurler si vous voulez. So, now to come back to it. If I show you that's it. It's better. Okay, thank you. Now, childhood is very important. Sartre wrote his first novel at the age of 7. At the age of 7. And his second novel at the age of 7. And he said in his autobiography, can you do that? He copied from others. From the first page to the last page. The novel was called Le Marchand de Bananes. Kola Bikrita. Who took it? And he said that. He copied from others. Very brave plagiarism of a 7-year-old boy. He said, look at this man. Not easy to emulate him. And therefore he knew, very important, that commitment is an act, not a word. He said, hell is others. Famous line from his play, Huis clos, no exit. Where 3 persons, 2 girls and a man, are enclosed in a room which is actually hell. In reality, this is our world, but they image themselves after others. So I'm told that if I have a big car, I'm happy. I have a huge job with great money, I'm happy. So this is bad faith, he said. Mauvaise foi. I model myself on others. All of us are wearing masks. We are not ourselves. We try to be others, imitate others. Therefore, we are not men. We are men without shadows, dead bodies without coffins. We're all morts sans sépulture, dead bodies without sepulchres. Avete conosciuta nei Artsy. Most of us, including me, just move around men without shadows because we don't think. We don't move back to that broken mirror and ask yourself, this is me, before the cracked mirror. The pain, the anguish. We try to sort of forget it by imposing on us another's self. L'enfer, c'est les autres. Hell is others. You become. We are not human beings. It's the difference with Camus and Heidegger. There is no essence. We are beings, ing. Present participle. Être. Being, ing. Roti. It's like it's raining. It's happening. We are not complete men. We are beings. And we are moving towards the definition of man. But most of the time, we are stopped. We remain inhumans. Because we do not act to prove that we are human beings. See, the difference between Camus and Sartre, they're great friends, but it's a very interesting point of difference. For Sartre, we prove ourselves. There's no past. We start from point 0. There's no God. La littérature de Papa, c'est fini. The literature of Papa is over. We start from point 0. Move towards a definition of man. But we finish halfway because we don't have the courage. Finish. You're all half-baked creatures moving around. The future. For Sartre, there is no past. There is only a present which is moving, flowing towards future. Look at what beauty of this. Look at the pain and anguish because you don't have a past. The mama or kaka to say you. You can't call somebody, no, you don't me. I'm alone. Loneliness which eats me. And yet, I have the freedom, the choice of freedom to break free. This is all well known. This is being a nothingness 1943. l'être de néant. And so we are not complete men, we're moving towards a definition of man. And here we do it. Example, Sartre's play, Les Mouches, the flies. There's a difference between Aeschylus' classical play, Les Mouches, the flies. Unlike Aeschylus' play, he has to act and kill his mother to prove that he exists. Orestes, the West. So this is important. You have to do something to define yourself, and if you fail to do it, it's your fault. Look at the great responsibility that we have. If Shabik is here is in a prison, he has the right, he has the capacity to break open. When he went to Paris University in 1968, on 20th May 1968, Sartre said the students have the right to break the walls of the university. The students can break the walls of the university. By breaking the wall, he's being metaphorical. Breaking the walls is connecting education with the world. Education is unconnected. You study a lot, especially in India, and you can't use it at all. So this is extremely important, connecting. He could connect. Romain Rolland tried to. He connected with Gandhi and Rabindranath and Tolstoy and Albert Schweitzer and Maxim Gorky, but not with common man, not with the students. But this man could. This is not easy. This is not. Sometimes people are satirical. Derrida, when he came to Calcutta, I was the coordinator when Derrida came to Calcutta, and it was 1997. And Derrida told us that Sartre went overboard, barbarie pour it, as an intellectual. En tant qu'intellectuel, il a fait trop. Il a dépassé les bords. He crossed the limit. But just looking at this, look at the way he's connecting. It's Jean-Paul Guha. It's Guha. This picture with Fidel Castro? Name? Oh, okay. So, look at this man. Not easy. Flaubert. He held Flaubert and Goncourt responsible for the repression which happened after the Commune in 1871, because they did not do anything to stop the repression. Very bold statement. Today's writer would say, why should Flaubert do something? Because he's a writer. But he said, he should have done something. He wrote Je tiens. He said very clearly that he castigated them because they did not come on to stop it. But could Sartre stop the Second World War himself? So there are contradictions. It's very important. Remember that everything in Sartre is so exciting. He failed in philosophy class in Paris for the exam, which is called agrégation. Net, like in our net. In agrégation, he was the best student in the class, and after class, all the students came to Sartre, including Simone de Beauvoir, to ask, how many mistakes did the professor make? And Sartre said, he made mistakes from the first sentence. Second sentence, third sentence, fourth sentence. Everything was wrong. Tout est faux. Everything was false. And then Sartre failed in the exam. It was too original. No, he failed. Because it's too original for the examiners. And he said, Salou, famous phrase, swine, he said, and then next year he came first. And Simone de Beauvoir came second. Just imagine. This man was playing ducks and tricks with life. God forbid. This is really terrible. I'm so sorry for this. Now, the importance of the presently, the past, known, future, unknown, So you have the immense possibility of freedom. Concept of freedom. This is very important. He said, we all know that, or Mongol knows better than me, that existence precedes essence. So before saying he's a great human being, you should understand that he has not proved anything to become a human being. What has he done to prove that he's a human being? What have I done to prove I'm a human being? I have to do something to define myself. The being must become a man, a woman, do something to prove that you are one. You break the mirrors, vous cassez les vitres, pour prouver que vous êtes un être humain, que vous n'avez rien fait. You have not done anything. কিছু করো, তাহলে তুমি বন্ধ হবে কি করে? ও মানুষ, এই মানুষের সাথে ধারণায় কারোর সঙ্গে ও তফাৎ। মানুষ আবার, কি মানুষ? ওটা তো একটা ঘুরে বেড়াচ্ছে লোক, ভূত। হ্যাঁ, তো সুতরাং আমাদের তো সুতরাং মানুষ হওয়ার জন্য একটা কিছু করবে। Chaque parole a une conséquence. Each word has a consequence. Chaque silence aussi. Every silence also. প্রত্যেকটি নীরবতা, প্রত্যেকটি শব্দের একটা মানে আছে। So what he did is very interesting. Ontology, অস্তিত্ব, and social action are combined. Others tried it also, I would say. In some ways, Voltaire. In some ways, Victor Hugo. But they are not philosophers. They are writers. But he's a philosopher. From ontological premise, he's trying to spread out towards a social premise. Very important. Being in itself tries to become being with others. Not easy. How do you become somebody who's sharing with others? Your consciousness takes you to that point. He's also, Shugoto's also, Raka's also, Nicola's also, and they become closer towards social action. So this man was already thinking about the conflict between the individual and society, the party, political party, the Communist Party, for example, in a play like Les Mains Sales, the Dirty Hands, Les Mains Sales, also called Crime Passionnel sometimes in America. The play is about a man called Hugo, and Hugo, very interesting, he's a young bourgeois intellectual. He joins the Communist Party under the name of Raskolnikov, the hero of Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, and spends his last moments wondering why he had killed Wederer. He was asked to kill Wederer, one of the leaders of the Communist Party, because he was being reactionary. Typical communist jargon. And he killed the man. He was in jail. When he came out, he found that Wederer has now become a hero. The ways of communist parties change. Yes, Nicolas. Yes. Bon voyage. Bon voyage. So Hugo spends his last moments wondering why he had killed Wederer. Because of sexual jealousy with his wife, about his wife Jessica, or because the leader was willing to compromise the path towards revolution. So it's ontological crisis, also political crisis. So this man is joining ontological crisis with social crisis, political crisis. This is very different. And he went on doing it. He came close to the Soviet Union and wrote a play called Nekrasov, where he was supporting the communists. And then, a few years ago, he was tearing them to pieces. And he came gradually close to communism, 1960, when he wrote Critique de la Raison Dialectique, Critique of Dialectic Reason. When he said, look at this very interesting point, the individual in Sartre, anxious, anguished, full of despair, is moving towards a consciousness, and others also reach that consciousness. So we are on one level. And the Marxists, on the other hand, they do not worry about the individual. That's the biggest problem. That is the reason for their fall. We all know that. Karl Marx made a basic error. He forgot the individual consciousness. Can be very greedy, selfish. He can be very, very non-ideological. So, the individual is forgotten, but the class reaches a point of consciousness. So at that point, very interesting, the same Sartre, who had once castigated Communist Party in 1949 in Dirty Hands, is now different. He thinks that we are all together, they through their Marxist discourse, and we through our existential discourse. We are based on the individual crisis and they on the social crisis, but we make at the same point. And then, of course, Sartre did not believe, and 25 days before his death, he said something very interesting. Everywhere there is the victory of a hopeless rightist. The hopeless rightist, চারদিকে এক হতচ্ছাড়া দক্ষিণ পন্থার জয়. Sartre said 25 days before his death, চতুর্দিকে এক হতচ্ছাড়া দক্ষিণ পন্থার জয়. He could already understand in 1980 that rightists are taking over. Look at the neo-trade in France, the first election. Then, of course, they managed this great country, liberty, equality. But in other countries, look at what in the United States, India. So this journey towards the right, Sartre could anticipate. And he put the blame on the leftists. He said, they are very lazy. Ils sont très paresseux, very lazy, extremely lazy and slow. He said that. And he said that the biggest problem, he said it clearly to Benny Levy, he was a leftist, of course, radical. But he said the biggest problem with the Communist Party is that they are the greatest enemies of the revolution. He said that. At the same time, he said, when the Communist Party, it's very interesting, he said people vote for the Communist Party not as a Communist Party, but as yet another rightist party. He said that, clearly. Which is not untrue, wholly untrue. Now, he went to extremes all the time, but he said, when the communism will disappear from the world, when communism will disappear, the last hope of liberation will be dead. So look at the complete picture that he's trying to. Freedom then is the pivot of Sartre's writings. The central focus is the creative imagination as synonymous with the freedom of human consciousness. In the paradoxes of his ontology, essence is defined as his liberty, and in his epistemology, where he seeks to avoid both idealism and realism, to establish a new interdependence of man and the world, without privileging with either a constituting subject or a preconstituted universe. The freedom, very interesting, I said earlier on, freedom in action, does not lie in the outside world, but rather the more intimate area of the self. He was always trying to break barriers between truth and fiction, philosophy and literature. Now, if you go back to his life for a while, আমি বলছিলাম যে just close your eyes and you can see Sartre standing on a barrel. He was not very tall, he was a short man, we all know that. And he was standing on a barrel in front of the Renault motor factory, car factory. And he said, workers, it's time for the intellectuals to learn from you. It's the other way around. It's not He said, intellectuals, it's time for you to learn from the workers, he said. This is very important. Sartre with the loudspeaker. This is a very, very symbolic picture of an intellectual, of a public intellectual, desperately. Remember what I quoted earlier on. He was such an example. yet he never wanted to be an example. He thought to break free from the shackles, like very few did. তিনি অন্তহীনভাবে বিবেকের কাছে দায়বদ্ধ, engagé থাকতে চেয়েছেন। তিনি অন্তহীনভাবে জীবন ও জীবন ভাবনাকে এক ধনুকে ছিড়ায় বাঁধতে চেয়েছেন। বুর্জোয়া ফ্রান্সের সীমাহীন পটনের মধ্যে, যাবতীয় বিপ্লবিক চিন্তার অভাবের মধ্যে, সেকেলে ও মধ্যমেধা শিক্ষা পদ্ধতির মধ্যে নিরন্তর জীবনের প্রকৃত রূপ খুঁজতে চেয়েছেন। In the rotten society, he tried to find the real face of life. In the mediocre education system, in the rottenness of the bourgeoisie, he tried to find পৃথিবীর জীবনটা কিরকম? How is life? Cette pâte molle, নরম একটা কাদা, this soft paste called life. Like the beauty of this sentence. This soft, cette pâte molle. সেটা কিরকম? Wavy. লাইফটা কিরকম? Paste. Wavy. Without future. যেখানে শুধু দেখা হওয়া, ভবিষ্যৎহীন ঢেউ খেলানো, নরম তুলতুলে কাদা, পেস্ট বাংলা কি করবো জানি না, যেটা শুধু মানুষের দেখা, সেটাকে অর্থময় করে তুলব কি করে? How to make it significant? This paste, black paste, which is wavy and which is no future. তিনি বলছেন, আমি আগে বলেছি, আমরা কেউ সম্পূর্ণ মানুষ নই, আমরা মানুষের সংজ্ঞার দিকে যাচ্ছি, আমরা এক বিং, আমরা হয়ে উঠছি। ছোটবেলায় আমরা পড়েছিলাম I am, he is, you are, she is, they are। কিন্তু আমরা কখনো ভেবেছি মানে হচ্ছে আমি হয়ে উঠছি, তুমি হয়ে উঠছো, সে হয়ে উঠছে। 1968 French Revolution's সময় there was a slogan in France: Je participe, tu participes, il participe, elle participe, nous participons, vous participez, il profite. I participate, you participate, she participates, he participates, we participate, you participate, they profit. আচ্ছা, সুতরাং এই সীমাহীন পটনের মধ্যে নিজে কি বলছে? Just imagine, I was leading a double life. He said, I wanted to be a radical, but I never reached the last point. I could never reach the last point. Each time I protested against the society, there was an exhibition of my love letters in National Gallery. What can I do? I'm protesting against De Gaulle, and De Gaulle arranges what? An exhibition of my love letters. And everybody said, beautiful, wow. So, you see, and he said, Ami abar hege dilam. So it's not easy. He said, আমি radicalism-এর শেষ ধাপ পর্যন্ত যেতে পারিনি, স্বাভাবিকভাবে আমি সারা জীবন নানা কারণে ছোট বড় ভুল করেছি। All my life I've made errors. কিন্তু the main point is I've never been able to become a true radical. I don't think Foucault would ever say that. This is something extraordinary. He's standing before the mirror, and the being is always under the scanner, his own being. Apuni achori dharma operation. Look at this now. And he did it. Just give you an example. I will finish because we're all beginning to be tired. উনি বলেছিলেন, আগেই বলেছি, শুধু হারামজাদারা ভাবে তারা জিতেছে। আজকের কনটেক্সটে খুবই স্পষ্ট। যদি কিছু বুঝতে চাও, উলঙ্গ হয়ে দেখো। Only the swines think that they have won. And if you want to understand anything, undress yourself. Now, Sachina, very interesting. Look at one of his truth always remains to be found if it is infinite, it is attainable. Although no one is capable, one can attain it. We are living in a society of spectacle. We all know now it's a psychic spectrum. There's a book by Guy Debord called La Société du Spectacle, where the spectacle is more important. Chobita is important. Before going to our consultant for a signature, an autograph, the first thing we'll do, let's take a selfie, sir. Selfies. It shows our tunnel vision. It shows the ultimate degeneration of mankind. That you are only interested in yourself and nobody else. You've talked with somebody or somebody, and you want to show the world that you talked with ABCD. In this world where of spectacle, where truth is a moment of the false, according to Guy Debord. Truth is a moment of the false. It's not that false is a moment of the truth. True is a moment of the false. সত্যিটা হচ্ছে মিথ্যের একটা অংশ, বানানো, fake, শিখানি. I'm quoting the green line. When you go down, we all go down. If you look at Sartre, what an example. What a blazing example. A month before his death, he said, once again, despair is seizing me in 1980. You know, world situation. Afghanistan, invaded by USSR. It's a terrible situation. We kept mum because we were in the Russian bloc, India. A month before his death, he said, "Amake abar rash korche noirasho. Despair is once again seizing me. Bhoy hocche ei durgotir oboshan hobe na. I'm afraid that this misery will never end. This misery will never end." 25 days before his death. No one has a goal. We have only small targets. কোনো মূল লক্ষ্য নেই, আছে ছোট ছোট উদ্দেশ্য। এমন কিছু নেই যা মানুষকে আগ্রহী করতে পারে, শুধু আছে বিশৃঙ্খলা। There is nothing which can make us interested. There is nothing but chaos. Wonderful. How could he say it in 1980? It's almost like a commentary of 2024. কোনো লক্ষ্য নেই, আছে ছোট ছোট উদ্দেশ্য। দুর্গতির অবসান হবে না। I remember Sartre writes lines like, "I open a gate, I enter." Let's go back to his novels. Just 5 minutes, don't worry. Not drag it long. But I open a gate, I enter. Light existences bounce up in a single leap. This is from Nausea. Nausea, the first novel, 1938. And he said his greatest works are La Nausea and the book on Flaubert, L'idiot de la famille, Idiot of the family. He said these are his greatest works. We all talk about Camus' Outsider, but please read Nausea. What a book. 1938. And he was 33, less than that, 23? Not 33. Okay, and he said, now I recognize myself. I know where I am. I'm in a public park. Je suis dans une parc public. I'm in a public park. The main character is called Roquentin. And Roquentin says, I'm in the public park. I let myself drop on a bench. Between the big black trunks, between black and knotty hands that reach up to the sky. I am suffocating. Nausea. Biborisha. Existence penetrates me from everywhere. অস্তিত্ব আমার মধ্যে প্রবেশ করছে চারপাশ থেকে। লক্ষ্য করুন, সাংঘাতিক জিনিস, কেন্দ্র আছে একটা চিন্তা, বিকেন্দ্রিত নয় আজকে সবাই সাহিত্য। তো এখানে কি হচ্ছে? Suffocating. Existence penetrates me from everywhere, through my eyes, nose, mouth. And suddenly, all at once, the veil is torn, and I understand, and I have seen. আমি জীবনকে বুঝলাম, দেখলাম, যখন অস্তিত্ব আমার মধ্যে, আমার নাকের মধ্যে দিয়ে, আমার মুখের মধ্যে দিয়ে, আমার চোখের মধ্যে দিয়ে প্রবেশ করছে। Existence crushes him, but now he knows he understands. The epochal event is also described metaphorically. The branches are seen in human terms, which elsewhere in Nausea, humans are often compared to lower life forms. Chaturdique আমরা কি দেখি? Sartre বলছে, what is bad faith? I told you, we model ourselves upon others. Therefore, forget our being. Mauvaise foi. And there are only false images, false reflections, false mirrors. মিথ্যে আয়না, মিথ্যে প্রতিফলন, মিথ্যে প্রতিচ্ছবি। তার মধ্যে থেকে বেরিয়ে আসার চেষ্টা করছেন। The root of the chestnut tree plunged into the earth just below my bench. His experience illuminates. He said, we are all stupefied vermins, faithless, lawless, without reason or aim. So this is very important. He could understand the anguish of the individual and try to find authenticity, authentic life, by defining, proving yourself, breaking out of the social discourse. It's not easy. The great masters had done it. Voltaire did it. Ishwarchandra Vidyasagar did it. In many ways, Foucault did it. To come out of the shadows and speak differently, and dig deep, and stand before a cracked mirror with blood oozing from your skin. The word intellectual. You will find a picture of Zola. Good finish. Less than an hour actually. Zola. We all know that Zola wrote a letter to the President of the Republic on 13th January 1898. Zola, I mean Zola, the famous writer of Nana, La Bête Humaine, L'Assommoir, he wrote a letter to the newspaper called Gore. সেখানে লিখলেন, I accuse, bannerhead, আমি অভিযোগ করছি। প্রেসিডেন্ট চিন্তা করতে পারে ফ্রান্সের প্রতিবাদের ইতিহাস, I accuse. Why? Because almost the whole of France, a large part of France, not whole, thought that there was a kind of military scam, leakage of military information. And everybody thought that there was a Jew called Alfred de Dreyfus who was responsible for this, knowing fully well that this is not fully convincing. But he accused the government. We all know that. It's called l'affaire de Dreyfus, and it's France. Now, 10 years later, the same Alfred de Dreyfus was honored with Légion d'honneur. This makes France France. Look at the largeness of the Quebec. They will understand the mistake. They will come back in 10 years and you will honor him with Légion d'honneur. So, but Zola stopped it. For the first time, the intellectual comes out of his ivory tower and says, I accuse. And the word intellectuel got its present political meaning. তার আগে ছিল ইন্টেলেক্ট যে ইউজ করে সে ইন্টেলেকচুয়াল। এখন হলো কি? বেরিয়ে আসছে আজকে যে বুদ্ধিজীবী শব্দটা ব্যবহার করা হয় মাঝে মাঝে ইচ্ছে মতো, বিশেষ করে ফেসবুকে, মানে না বুঝে বুদ্ধিজীবী কজন। রবীন্দ্রনাথ যখন উনি জালিয়ানওয়ালাবাগ হত্যাকাণ্ডের পর লাইসেন্স ফেরত দেন তখন তিনি বুদ্ধিজীবী হওয়া সারা পৃথিবী শেক্সপিয়ার বুদ্ধিজীবী ছিলেন না, কিন্তু লেখার মধ্যে প্রকাশ করেছেন। Have you seen a farmer's dog bark at a beggar? Shakespeare could write, hell is empty and all the devils are here. Could write it, but to come out in the open and openly accuse the government is not easy, and he did it. De Gaulle couldn't stop Jean-Paul Sartre. And what is important is this man could do it. I'm just giving you the last description of a man. Just imagine, close your eyes, and you can see this man. There are explosions in his Paris apartment. 1, 2, but he's not scared. Do you know by any chance that he was living in the house of Foucault towards the end? Foucault asked him to stay. Can you imagine the honor young generation can have for such a great, immense intellectual? And Sartre had explosions in his house. He refuses a Nobel Prize, attends the World Peace Conference in Helsinki. Refuses a Nobel Prize and attends the World Peace Conference in Helsinki. Accuses the US in 1966 of genocide in Vietnam. Joins the International Tribunal of War Crimes, an instance of Bertrand Russell, and presides over the tribunal meeting in Paris. Jean-Paul Sartre presiding over the anti-war tribunal in Paris. And then he addresses the students of the Sorbonne, 20th May 1968, and joins the committee of protest against de Gaulle's measures, repressive measures. In 1970, he takes over the editorship of the Maoist newspaper. La Cause du Peuple sells it in the streets of Paris after the vendors are detained by the police. Sartre is arrested, released. He participates in the endeavor. This is, I don't know, you'll find it stupid, sir, but he did it. He tried to take over the Basilica of Sacré-Cœur with the students. Horrible lane, bullshit. The bullshit compass. He wanted to take over with the students. Well, just imagine the Sacré-Cœur. And that was in 71. And then he calls it an irrational act. So this man is trying to define himself in all possible ways that soft, paced, wavy, futureless. We can see him on the top of a barrel before the Renault factory during the strike. And when Pierre Auvernay, a worker, is shot dead, Jean-Paul Sartre attends his funeral. Let's imagine. Jean-Paul Sartre attends the funeral. Pierre Auvernay was shot down and takes part in the investigations of the murder of Pierre Auvernay. Criticizes democracy in an article in 1973. He's called it উজবুকদের জন্য ফাঁদ নির্বাচনটা হচ্ছে উজবুকদের জন্য ফাঁদ élection piège à con and he dared to say it. And he was a member of Rassemblement Démocratique Révolutionnaire, and it means in English elections a trap for blockades, and we know it here. And then he declares his differences with Marxism and allegiance to socialism libertaire. During Soviet President Brezhnev's visit to Paris, let's imagine, he arranges a meeting with the dissidents of USSR in the house opposite the house. Look at it. And Lucien Goldman, when Pierre Goldman is assassinated, Sartre was very ill, but attends the funeral, despite his illness and fatigue. Lucien Goldman, the famous psychologist, sociologist, said that this man wanted to be a disciple of Karl Marx and Kierkegaard at the same time. It's impossible. But if anyone dared to participate in this impossible project, Kierkegaard and Karl Marx, it is Jean-Paul Sartre. Went beyond that soft-paced, wavy directionless, in search of meaning, in search of the meaning of meanings, to make this miserable life beautiful. Thank you. So that's it. It's an honor that our council has come. And all of you members, ex-President Raha and Guru and Professor Maxwell, my publisher, and innumerable students from inside and outside the university, I don't know all of them. But we are very happy that in this moment of crisis, I would say in civilization, we are all here to look at this man and salute him for what he dreamed. Memory, to quote Todorov, can serve as a remedy for evil. Memory can serve as a remedy for me. Thank you.